The girl who knelt in the dust. The sun was low over the red sky of Norwich Station, a trade outpost forgotten by most of the galaxy. Sand blew between the metal buildings, and the heat clung to every surface like a second skin. Ethan worked quietly outside his repair shack. The machines were old, the tools older, but he didn't mind. He liked the silence, the routine. After the war, he had no interest in crowds or noise. Then he heard a sound. Soft, like something falling. He turned. There, at the edge of his workshop, knelt a figure in the dust. It was a girl. Alien. Thin. Shaking. Her skin was pale silver, covered in dirt and bruises. Her white hair fell across her face like a curtain. She wore torn robes and no shoes. Her knees, pressed into the sand as if she had dropped from the sky. She didn't speak at first. Then slowly, her head bowed low, and her voice cracked through the wind. "Please, let me serve you." Ethan froze. He didn't move. He had seen a lot in his life: war, pain, cruelty, but never this. He stepped closer. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She didn't lift her head. "No, only tired." "What's your name?" "It doesn't matter. It matters to me." She looked up. Her eyes were glowing violet. They were wide, filled with fear, but also something else. Hope. "I was called Elira," she said. "Before I was nothing." Ethan reached out to help her. "Stand." She flinched and pulled away. "Please, don't touch me, not unless I'm allowed." He lowered his hand. "You don't have to kneel. Come inside. There's food, water." She shook her head. "I'm not worthy." "Worthy of what?" "Of entering the space of a human." Ethan stared at her. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. "You're from Earth." "So?" She pressed her forehead to the ground. "That means I belong to you." He stood there in silence, trying to make sense of her words. Then he knelt beside her. "Listen to me," he said. "I don't know who told you that, but you don't belong to anyone." She looked at him, confused. "But they said humans are sacred. That touching one without permission is a crime. That if we disobey, we are punished." "Who told you that?" "The ones who took my planet. They worship Earth, but only the idea of it. They use your name like fire." Ethan clenched his jaw. He had heard of cult empires before, twisted groups that misunderstood history and turned it into control. But this was worse. He stood and held the door open. "Come inside." She hesitated, then slowly, she rose. She didn't walk. She crawled. And when she crossed the threshold, she whispered a prayer. Ethan wanted to stop her, to tell her she didn't need to act like this. But something told him now was not the moment. He watched her sit gently on the floor near the wall, hands folded, head down. He brought her a small cup of water. She stared at it like it was a gift from the stars. "Drink," he said. She took it carefully and sipped, then stopped. "Is it okay to finish it?" "Of course." She drank the rest in one motion, then whispered, "Thank you, Master." He frowned. "Don't call me that." "But it's what you are." "No, I'm just a man, and you're not. My servant." She looked down. "I don't know how else to be." Ethan sat across from her slowly. "Then maybe we start with this. You're safe here." Her hands shook. "I don't remember what that feels like." Outside, the wind picked up again, but inside, a strange stillness filled the room. Not fear, not control, just silence. Elira sat on the floor of a stranger's home, a man she was trained to worship. And for the first time in years, she wasn't told what to do, and that terrified her more than any command ever had. The name she no longer used, Ethan didn't sleep much that night. He sat on the old chair by the wall, watching the small figure curled up on the floor near the heating unit. He had offered her the cot, the bed, even the couch, but she had refused. Not out of pride, but fear. Elira had curled herself into the corner like a wounded animal. She hadn't moved since sunset. Her breathing was shallow. Her hands stayed folded tight, as if sleeping too freely might make someone punish her. Ethan didn't understand everything yet, but he had seen enough in war to recognize deep damage. He'd seen children rescued from destroyed cities who didn't speak for weeks. He'd seen soldiers forget their own names after too much pain, and now he was looking at someone like that again. Only worse, because she had been trained to worship him. Not love. Not respect. Worship. The next morning, she was already awake before him, kneeling, eyes closed. "You don't have to do that," he said gently. "It is morning," she whispered. "The first duty of the day is gratitude." "To who?" "To you. To Earth. I didn't do anything. You gave me shelter. You needed help. No one else helped." He rubbed the back of his neck and sighed. "Come eat something, please." She joined him at the small metal table, sitting with perfect posture, not touching anything until he gave permission. He handed her a protein square and a warm drink. She only took a bite after he nodded. They ate in silence for a while. Then she spoke. "You shouldn't talk to me like this." "Like what?" "Like I'm real." Ethan looked at her carefully. "You are real. Not anymore." "Then what are you?" "A tool. A servant." "Who told you that?" "The ones who conquered our world. They taught us that humans are chosen, that when one appears, we must offer ourselves." Ethan leaned forward. "Who are they?" "The Flame Creed. They destroyed my city. They called it purification, and they made you kneel? They trained me to kneel, to bow, to serve without question. They said it was the highest honor, to be chosen by a human." Ethan's jaw tightened. How many others? Thousands, maybe more. Some were sold, others disappeared, some fought and died, the rest were like me. "And your name?" She looked down. "They took it. But you told me it was Elira." She nodded slowly. "It was. Once. It still is." She shook her head. "Names are for people. I was not allowed one. I was number 306F. It's easier that way, they said. No history, no questions." Ethan leaned back, staring at the wall. So many things made sense now. Her silence, her fear, her confusion every time he offered kindness. They hadn't just enslaved her body, they erased her mind, her past, her worth. And now, she didn't know how to exist without permission. He reached across the table. "You can still be a Lyra," he said. She didn't move. "You can be anything you want." Her voice cracked. "What if I don't know how?" "Then we learn together." She looked, up, eyes shining. "Why?" "Because someone has to undo what they did." Later, she walked around the workshop slowly, her hands behind her back. She looked at the tools, the wires, the machines, but never touched. "Can I help you fix something?" she asked. "If you want to." "Not because I must?" "No, never because you must. I don't understand the difference. You will." As the sun dipped again, Ethan looked out at the desert horizon. A transport ship had landed near the old market ruins. No flags, no cargo crates, just quiet movement, and two tall figures in dark armor stepped out. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Elira stood behind him. "They're looking for someone," he said. "They always are." "Will they recognize you?" "If they see my back, yes." "Why?" "Because it has their mark, burned into the skin." Ethan turned slowly. "Show me." She hesitated, then pulled her robe aside. Across her back was a scar, long, sharp, and shaped like a flame. Deep, old, permanent. Ethan stepped back inside and shut the door. He checked his old sidearm, still loaded. He looked at her. "You're safe. Here." She stared at him, unsure. "What if they come? Then I stand in the way. But I am no one." "To them," he said, "but not to me." Scars under silver skin. The night was quiet, but Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat near the workshop's side window, watching the shadows stretch across the red sand. The two armored men from the transport hadn't left. They stood near the landing gear, scanning every face that passed. They weren't traitors. They were hunters. He could feel it. And he knew exactly who they were looking for. Elira sat beside the old heater, her knees drawn to her chest, her arms wrapped around her legs. She hadn't said much all evening. Her eyes followed Ethan, always watching, as if afraid he might disappear. After a long silence, she finally whispered, "Do you want me to leave?" Ethan turned toward her. "No. If they see me here, they'll come for you too. Let them." "Why?" "Because what they did to you is wrong, and because this place, my home, will not serve their silence." She looked down. Her voice barely rose above the hum of the heater. "You don't know what they did. Then tell me." She took a breath. Then slowly, carefully, she opened the part of herself that had been locked away for too long. "When they took us," she said, "we were given numbers. We were told to forget who we were. They shaved our heads, changed our clothes, made us kneel for hours. If someone cried and they were punished." Ethan stayed quiet. "They taught us about Earth, but not real history. They showed us images of humans from before the Great Wars, soldiers, leaders, kings. They said you were divine, that serving you was salvation." "We never asked for that," Ethan said. "They said humans wouldn't need to ask, that you would expect it. That's not how we are. They said it was." Her voice began to shake. "Sometimes they would pretend one of you was visiting. They made us line up. Oh. Serve food to an empty chair. If we looked up, we were hit. If we didn't smile, we were marked." "You were children?" "Most of us, yes." Ethan's hand curled into a fist. "How long were you there?" "I don't remember time, but one night a guard got drunk, left a gate open, I ran. They didn't follow. They thought I would die. But I didn't." She touched her chest softly. "Because I still believed in one thing." "What was that?" "That one day, I would meet a real human. Not a god, not a master, but someone who could show me what kindness meant." She looked at him, and for the first time since she arrived, her voice stopped trembling. "And then I found you." Ethan stood and walked to the old storage unit. He opened a box he hadn't touched in years. Inside, a folded flag, a medal, a photo of his old unit. He held the photo for a moment. "When I was a soldier," he said, "I fought for peace. But peace doesn't mean much when others use your name to cause harm." He turned to her. "They used our image, our history, but not our heart." Elira's eyes filled with tears again. "So why are you helping me?" He sat beside her. "Because no one helped you when they should have." They sat in silence after that, but it wasn't the kind of silence that feels empty. It was the kind that builds something, a bridge between pain, a slow breath after too much noise. And in that silence, something changed between them. Elira no longer sat like a servant. She sat like someone allowed to exist. Outside, the two armored men spoke to the local trader. They showed him a scan, a file with her face. Number 306F, no name, no history. "If you see her," they said, "don't warn her, just report her." The trader nodded. But later that night, he didn't report anything. He had seen the way Ethan looked at her, and something told him. This one would fight. When the hunters came, the morning started with silence. Too quiet. Ethan noticed it the moment he stepped outside. The usual sounds, traders shouting, machines running, wind brushing the metal roofs, were gone. Instead, the outpost felt like it was holding its breath. Elira stood just behind the door, peeking through a small crack. She felt it too. Danger, not coming. Already here. Two men walked toward the workshop, same ones as before. Tall, armored, slow steps, hands near their sidearms. They didn't hide what they were. They wanted to be seen. They stopped just outside the gate. Ethan didn't wait. He walked out and stood between them and the door. "You're early," he said. The taller one nodded slightly. We're looking for someone. Who? A runaway. Not registered. Not legal. No name. No family. You mean a person? Ethan said flatly. The second man tilted his head. You've seen her, haven't you? I've seen many people. This one is not a person. Ethan's eyes hardened. Then we don't speak the same language. Inside, Elira heard every word. She pressed her hand to her chest. Her heartbeat was fast, heavy. She wanted to run, but her legs didn't move. She wanted to scream, but her voice stayed silent. Outside, the taller man stepped closer. We don't want trouble. You already brought it, Ethan replied. We have authorization to remove property. She's not property. To us, she is. Ethan didn't flinch. Not here. Do you plan to fight us for her? I don't plan to let you take her. Why? Ethan's voice dropped. Because no one else ever chose her. So I will. There was a pause. Then the soldier stepped back. We'll be back, he said. With more. Ethan didn't move until they were gone. Inside the workshop, Elira stood frozen. When Ethan came back in, she fell to her knees. But this time, not to worship. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to bring danger. He knelt beside her. You didn't bring danger, they did. You stood for me, she said, voice shaking. Why? Because someone has to. And I want that someone to be me. They'll come back. Let them. You could be hurt. So could you. But I'm used to it. You shouldn't be. For the first time since she arrived, Elira didn't lower her eyes. She looked at him fully. You don't want me to kneel? No. You don't want me to serve? No. Then what do you want? Ethan smiled softly. I want you to stay. Not because you must, but because you choose to. Her lips trembled. No one's ever given me that choice. Then this is the first of many. Outside, clouds began to form. Storm winds approached. But inside, the small home, something stronger began to rise, not fear, not duty, choice. The lie that broke her chains days passed, but the soldiers didn't return. Not yet. The storm had slowed them, and maybe. The message in Ethan's eyes had warned them too. Elira stayed close to the workshop. She still rose early, still cleaned the floor, still folded her blanket with perfect corners. But something had changed. She no longer asked for permission before she spoke. She no longer knelt before she entered a room. And most important of all, she started to ask questions. Why do you fix broken machines? She asked one morning. Ethan smiled, holding a cracked engine part. Because it's what I'm good at. But they're old. So am I. You're not old. Thank you. She blinked. Was that a joke? A small one. I don't know how to laugh. You will, Ethan said. What if I do it wrong? You can't. That night, they sat near the heater. Elira held a small data pad, reading the same sentence over and over. You want help with the words? Ethan asked. She nodded. What's this one? She pointed. He leaned closer. That one means freedom. She repeated it slowly. Free. Dom. It means you can choose. But how do you know if you're really free? When no one owns your silence anymore? She looked at him quietly. You make me feel strange inside. Not afraid, but different. Maybe that's what healing feels like. The next day, Elira touched a flower growing through the crack in the outer wall. This shouldn't be here, she said. But it is, Ethan replied. How? Because even in hard places, something soft can grow. She stared at the flower for a long time, then smiled. Just a little. In the evening, they sat together on the rooftop, watching the stars rise. Do you ever miss Earth? She asked. Sometimes, but not the wars, not the rules. Then why did you come here? To forget. And now? Now? I want to remember. She looked at him. You're not like the stories. What stories? The ones they told us. Humans who took. Humans who broke. Those aren't stories. Those are lies used by cruel people. So what's the truth? That kindness is a choice, just like cruelty. And you chose kindness? I chose you. She didn't reply. Not for a long time, then suddenly, she laughed. Not loud, not sharp, just soft, like a breath escaping a locked room. Then she covered her mouth in shock. What was that? You laughed, Ethan said. I didn't mean to. You don't have to be sorry. It felt light. That's what it's supposed to feel like. I've never done it before. Then you just broke another chain. Inside her chest, something small cracked open. Not pain, not sadness, something like joy. New, raw, real. When she stood for him, the storm passed. But what followed was worse. Just before sunrise, Ethan saw them. 3 armored transport crafts landed just beyond the canyon edge, the same men as before. But this time they brought more. More soldiers. Heavier weapons and a small cage. Illyra stood at the window, silent. She didn't tremble. She didn't hide. Not this time. They came for me, she said. Then I'll stop them. Ethan replied. No, she said gently. This time I stop them. He turned to her. What are you saying? I can't let you fight alone. You don't have to protect me. I'm not protecting you, she said. I'm protecting who I became. Because of you. The soldiers marched through the outpost. No one tried to stop them. No one dared. Ethan stepped outside first, his old sidearm strapped to his belt, his eyes calm. She's not going with you, he said. The lead soldier raised his hand. This isn't your choice. It is now. You would die for her? I would live for her. That's more dangerous. Then Illyra stepped out from behind the door. She wasn't wearing her servant robes anymore. She wore Ethan's spare jacket, torn and too large, and she stood tall, not like a slave, not like a shadow, but like someone who remembered what it meant to have a soul. The soldier pointed at her. You belong to us. No, she said clearly. I belong to no one. You're marked. I wear the mark. But I am not the mark. You were trained to serve. I was trained to obey, she said. But now I choose. Choose what? She stepped forward. I choose to stand. One of the soldiers raised his weapon, but before he could fire, a loud siren echoed across the canyon. A ship, human-made, appeared in the sky above. It bore the Earth emblem, a patrol craft. Ethan smiled. I made a call 2 days ago, he said. You broke protocol, the soldier snapped. No, Ethan replied. I followed a better one. The patrol ship hovered, weapons ready. A voice rang from its loudspeaker. You are violating human-protected territory. Surrender immediately. The flame soldiers hesitated. Then, they ran, fled into their transports, and vanished into the dust. Silence returned. Illyra fell to her knees, but not in submission, just from relief. Ethan rushed to her. She looked up at him with wide eyes. I didn't kneel for them, she said. You never have to again, he said. I thought I would break. You didn't. I thought I'd forget who I was. You just became her. And in that moment, for the first time, Illyra didn't feel like a servant. She felt human, even if she wasn't born that way. When she stood for him, the storm passed. But what followed was worse. Just before sunrise, Ethan saw them. 3 armored transport crafts landed just beyond the canyon edge, the same men as before. But this time they brought more. More soldiers, heavier weapons, and a small cage. Illyra stood at the window, silent. She didn't tremble. She didn't hide. Not this time. They came for me, she said. Then I'll stop them. Ethan replied. No, she said gently. This time I stop them. He turned to her. What are you saying? I can't let you fight alone. You don't have to protect me. I'm not protecting you, she said. I'm protecting who I became. Because of you. The soldiers marched through the outpost. No one tried to stop them. No one dared. Ethan stepped outside first, his old sidearm strapped to his belt, his eyes calm. "She's not going with you," he said. The lead soldier raised his hand. "This isn't your choice. It is now. You would die for her? I would live for her. That's more dangerous." Then Elira stepped out from behind the door. She wasn't wearing her servant robes anymore. She wore Ethan's spare jacket, torn and too large, and she stood tall, not like a slave, not like a shadow, but like someone who remembered what it meant to have a soul. The soldier pointed at her. "You belong to us." "No," she said clearly. "I belong to no one. You're marked. I wear the mark. But I am not the mark. You were trained to serve. I was trained to obey," she said. "But now I choose." "Choose what?" She stepped forward. "I choose to stand." One of the soldiers raised his weapon, but before he could fire, a loud siren echoed across the canyon. A ship, human-made, appeared in the sky above. It bore the Earth emblem, a patrol craft. Ethan smiled. "I made a call 2 days ago," he said. "You broke protocol," the soldier snapped. "No," Ethan replied. "I followed a better one." The patrol ship hovered, weapons ready. A voice rang from its loudspeaker. "You are violating human-protected territory. Surrender immediately." The flame soldiers hesitated. Then they ran, fled into their transports, and vanished into the dust. Silence returned. Elira fell to her knees, but not in submission, just from relief. Ethan rushed to her. She looked up at him with wide eyes. "I didn't kneel for them," she said. "You never have to again," he said. "I thought I would break. You didn't. I thought I'd forget who I was. You just became her." And in that moment, for the first time, Elira didn't feel like a servant. She felt human, even if she wasn't born that way.